Welcome to How to Build a Thriving Network. My name is Sharon. I am your fireside chat host for the day. Thank you to GA for hosting us. I work with Freelancers Union. We are a nonprofit based here in New York. We support 300,000 members nationwide, all of whom are freelancers, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and we provide resources and opportunities for networking for you all across the country. I'm joined today by two fantastic freelancers who are experts on this topic. We have Justine Clay and we have Allison Leipzig, and they will introduce themselves to you now.
Well, hello, my name is Justine Clay, and I'm the founder of Pitch Perfect Presentation, and I'm a business coach for creative professionals and freelancers. So my mission is to really help people align with their unique gift, to articulate that effectively to their ideal clients, and to work with their ideal clients and get paid what they're worth.
Awesome. And I'm Allison Leipzig. I am a graphic designer, coach, and the co-founder of a sleepaway camp for adults called Soul Camp. And, I started my freelance career like 5 years ago doing the design, and have really been able to build a network through just building relationships throughout the years, and have found that I can use that in different avenues throughout all areas of my career. So I'm excited to share how that happened.
Thank you. Yeah. So the conversation today is live. You can follow us at #GALive on Twitter. We're also periscoping. And FreelancersU is at FreelancersU on Twitter. And what we are specifically going to be focusing on is not just how to build a thriving network, but how to sort of learn more about yourself as a freelancer, such that you are doing outreach in the right ways to the right people, and ideally at the end of the day, some great jobs are coming out of this. So I had a funny thing happen to me last night, actually, where I went to a yoga class and I was doing a pose wrong and I could feel it. And at the end of the class, I said to the instructor, can you just show me a little bit what I'm doing wrong? And she sat with me for like 10 minutes and really just worked on everything with me, helped me perfect this pose. And then at the end of it, she offered me her business card, and I have never been more grateful to accept someone's business card, because my gosh, did she go above and beyond, staying with me one-on-one and helping me fix what I was doing wrong. And I think that was, of course, perfect timing, because what we're really focusing on right now is how deep connection and how getting to know people is the key to successful networking. So Justine, let's start off with you. When we were first talking about how to sort of talk to our audience with this Q&A, we were distinguishing between outdated networking and new ways of networking, and framing our talk around the new way. Mm-hmm. So can you give our audience some idea of what that means?
Sure. Well, I think that when I'm coaching my clients, when we get to the networking part of things, they kind of freak out. It's just like, I don't want to do it, I'm shy, I don't have time. We all have a million excuses why we don't network. So I was just interested to kind of like dig a little deeper, obviously so I can help my clients, but so I'm just intrigued by human nature. And so I said, well, why is that? And I realized that for the most part, people don't want to appear pushy and salesy and like they've got this canned elevator pitch. And the reason they're fearful of that is because we've all been on the wrong end of one of those pitches.
Yes, totally.
And I always tell a story about when I went to a networking event and I didn't know anyone. It was in a new co-working space in Harlem where I lived at the time. And I was happily chatting to someone. We were having a great time. And this woman kind of barrels in and she has like a flyer and she just did her pitch. She didn't wait to be, no social graces, didn't wait to be included, no eye contact, nothing. And it was so uncomfortable and so awkward for us and for her. And there was no synergy at all. So she was, not only was it uncomfortable, but she was wasting her time.
Yeah.
And, networking really should be about having fun, making genuine connections, but being strategic. If you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer, you don't have time to waste on bad networking. So that's the old form of networking. And I almost feel like we should just call it something else. We should just have a whole new word for networking, because it's so loaded, right?
Yeah.
And the new way is really about thinking about building connections, building your network, it's almost like building a big family, an extended family of people that not only support and help you, but that you support too. And in fact, when you enter into it with the intention of where can I add value, just like that yoga teacher, she really added value to you. And how can I help someone right now through my level of expertise, through a connection I might have, through a book that I think they should read, whatever it might be, you're really transforming that person's life in that moment in a very positive way. And so you won't necessarily get something back from that person necessarily or immediately, but that person will remember you and perhaps they'll recommend you to someone else they know. So it's really about giving, thinking of it as building relationships over time, not like what can I get out of this in this red hot minute. So that's the short-ish answer.
Yeah. And Allison, maybe you could just quickly tell us a little bit about Soul Camp and how what you're doing is really all about just what Justine's saying, building a family.
Yeah, totally. So Soul Camp, it's an adult sleepaway camp. We take 400 adults for 4 days and 4 nights into nature, away from the city, away from the day-to-day activities that all of us are really in all the time. And we come to this place and we really let go of like the labels and what I can get, right? And we always talk about there at camp, like you don't know who you're sleeping next to in a bunk. You don't know who you're sitting next to at lunch. And it could be someone that could end up being your business partner 5 years down the line, right? And we really facilitate authentic connection there at camp, and it's something we have people apply out in the real world too that you guys can take. It's like really getting to know the person behind what the label is, right? Because especially a lot of us shift careers, we shift what we're doing as we go along our paths. So if you keep that connection going, then no matter what you do, you can end up benefiting and contributing to each other in the future. Yeah.
So I think what we want to focus on today is really talking about who should be in that network that you are creating. How can you build up this network of collaborators, of supporters, of advisors? Really think about them as a family who you can offer value to and who can ideally offer value to you in return. Because just like you're saying, you want them to get to know you as a person and trust you beyond your freelancer skill set, because that at the end of the day is how you work with people. So people out there may be at different levels of connection with others at this time. Maybe they're on Facebook, maybe they're on Twitter, maybe they're going to BNI meetings, networking meetings. What do you think you need to have in place to get this restart going, to reframe your thinking and start moving towards building this network of supporters?
Well, it depends whether you're sort of the specific things. So if you're in person, there's a couple of things you need to have in place in order to do that. But a clear understanding of your goals. Where do you want your business to go? And I'm talking about like dreaming big and where you want to be down the line and then breaking it down, into those small steps. And, who you'll need to support you as you grow and who you'll be able to bring in and take you along as you grow along. So an idea of where you're going, because random networking, nothing good is ever going to come up from that, because if you're fuzzy, you can guarantee that the person on the end of the conversation is not have any idea how they can help you. So clarity around where you're going, clarity around what you do and how you benefit your clients, why you're different from other people. And that's not being boastful or braggy, that's being clear. And when you're clear, you're doing the person listening to you a huge favor. People always resist coming up with a pitch, I don't call it an elevator pitch, but they resist coming up with a pitch because they feel like they're being pushy and that's somehow inflicting something on someone. And talking about reframing, you're doing the work ahead of time to sift through all of the experience you have, all of the expertise you have, all of the things that bring you passion that you can really help other people with, and you're putting that together in a very concise statement so that the other person can really clearly understand it. So you're giving them a gift in doing that. So I would say some form of a pitch, whatever you want to call that, and a very clear idea of who your ideal client is. Who do you benefit? Who do you serve? And when you know where those people, who those people are, you know where to find them. You know what their challenges are. You know how to speak to those challenges, so that when you get to the end of your conversation, not your pitch, your conversation, they say, oh, I need to know more. Just like with this yoga woman, you know, you just say, next time I'm doing yoga, I'm going to her. Right? Of all of the millions of yoga teachers in New York City.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to just add on with my experience of that. When I first started becoming a freelance designer, I was really unsure of it. So I was not confident in myself. I was like, yeah, I'm a freelancer anytime anyone asked me. And I started, realizing I was so uncomfortable in those conversations that I needed to shift something within myself. And once I did that and started getting really clear in like what you're saying of what I did, so I decided I wanted to merge my passions of design and health and wellness. So I said, I do graphic design for health and wellness professionals, and I could stand in that. And then all of a sudden I started noticing people connecting me. Oh, I know someone who's starting a health coaching business. Oh, I know someone who's doing this. And I started being referred by a lot of people because I was clear. Like they were able to help me instead of me being like, yeah. So I think what you're saying is spot on.
Yeah, and it inspires confidence in those people too. No one's going to recommend someone that isn't confident and what they can offer.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that is great. And look how simple that was to just say,
So
I help health and wellness people, I brand them. That's a very simple statement. That's not it's not rocket science to come up with that. So and the results were amazing for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So we're sort of going into 3 different pieces very quickly, right? We're talking about the first step is even just as basic as redefining your idea of what networking is to begin with. The second step being knowing yourself and having a really clear idea of what your goals are and your passions are, and then figuring out how to express those things. And then third, what we're saying is you really need to understand who your ideal client is, because you will do your best work when you are working with someone who is a very good fit. And I want to probe a little bit deeper into each of those categories.
Right.
So in terms of reframing your thinking, how do you think people think about networking to start off with? If we just picked random freelancer off of the street, what are the strategies that you see people tending towards?
I think, are we talking about outdated networking kind of?
Yeah.
So like meeting more people versus like targeted high leverage people. And when you were talking, I was thinking about it like speed dating. Someone, right? Like you were sitting there, I need to meet this kind of person, this kind of person, this person, and really like trying to define what that is before even really getting to know the person. So I would say.
Yeah.
And also that sort of, rushing into an event, looking around, seeing like, what can I get out of this, throwing as many business cards out as you can. It's really just really misguided, rather than just coming in, taking a breath, looking around the room, starting a conversation with someone, knowing the basic kind of etiquette of networking. Don't monopolize someone all the time. Don't let someone monopolize you because they're finally glad to have someone to talk to. Allow people to move on, keep moving yourself, be gracious, all of these things. So I think that's sort of that outdated, and also I think that a lot of people just really won't do it because of the outdated feeling, because they fear that they're going to feel uncomfortable or awkward, or they're going to be standing on the edge and no one's going to talk to them, and it's uncomfortable for even the most sociable person to walk into a room full of people you don't know, and to just walk up to someone and say, "Hi, my name's Justine. What's your name?" It's tough. So that's you can see why, if you have the choice of going to a networking event or going for a drink with your friends that you know really well, why that will a lot of times win out.
Yeah, I think we tend to think of networking, especially in-person networking, as short moments where we have this sort of burst of talking to someone and then we're on to the next person. And I lead a lot of workshops and events, and I always stay after and I always talk to people, but there's always a very long line of people waiting to talk to me. And very often after we do talk and they hand me their business card, if I don't follow up with them, I never hear from them again either. I would say that's with a majority of people, as if, they think to themselves, oh, well, I gave her my pitch and she didn't like it, so that's that.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
there was something that a mentor of mine said, and I've always remembered it. She said, once you've kind of found your tribe, and I know it's a little bit of an overused word, but I kind of like it because it feels more modern, than your network. That once you've kind of found your tribe and you start sort of orbiting in the same circles. So I met Allison. We were both invited to be on a panel, so we were invited separately by someone who didn't know either of us. And then we immediately knew we would have a lot of people in common. And it turns out that we did, and we kind of run in the same circles. And then when this came up, I was able to say, oh, well, to recommend Allison to bring in because of the Soul Camp and all of this. So that's kind of a great example of how we only met, a month ago or something. So
and one time.
Right, exactly. But because there was that connection of the circles that we both are in, and the kind of solidity of that. So you kind of want to be in those small circles in a way. So wherever you go, you're seeing like the same people again and again and again in different places, because you almost want someone to say, oh, you're everywhere, in a good way, right? Because then you've got those repeated touch points with people. Each time you get to say, oh, how was your vacation? I saw a picture on Facebook, because since you've connected with them, I saw you, went to Soul Camp, how was that? And, so you deepen your connection and understanding of them and what they do, but just them as a whole person. And that's when it becomes fun, because you go and you're like, I'm going to see my friends, Morgan Stanley breakfasts, I go to those, they're great, they're full of creative people, and I always look forward to them, even though they start at 8:30 in the morning, because I know I'll see those same faces that I don't see, in my day-to-day life, especially when you work on your own, so it's a great way to kind of tap in. So you want to feel that repetition, feel that familiarity, rather than that always a cold event, which is...
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's scary.
Yeah, and it doesn't really yield results because people don't get to know you, Like you said, it's just, how often does someone really ever give you the business card once and you really make a connection off of that, just from someone handing you a business card?
Right.
Yeah, and I think just thinking about that's the power of social media right now, right? So like I connected with Justine on Facebook afterwards, and we saw our mutual friends, and we were like, oh wow, we have a lot in common. And as if we hadn't connected, you would have seen my status updates about what I was doing, and then been able to like further on invite me to something else, right? So that's like, you can get a business card, but then also friend someone on Facebook, and then keep up with them in that way, and then you can start to really get to know someone from that as well.
Right.
And actually, to that point, and I think it's again knowing who should be in your network. So I would say we would be strategic alliances, probably, right? We have similar ideal clients, but we do different things. If you want to put like a term on that, that category of person in there. But I did sort of email everybody else who was on the panel just to say it was lovely to meet you, but I haven't stayed in contact with them. But I knew that Allison would be in that crew of people. I knew that she fit into like my thriving network. That's not to say that I won't recommend the other people if something comes up. But so there's that thing of like knowing. I think we both had that feeling. It was like, I know we're going to know people. Like you just connect with people because you're so clear and they're so clear that you don't try and make things work that maybe you just shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it is very interesting to think of yourself collaborating and allying yourself with people who do similar business to you. I think if we're going to outdated networking, it's I have to meet people who are different from me, because if all I'm doing is connecting with people who do the same work as me, then we're competing, and that's just not the case.
Not at all. And something at Soul Camp that we say is we don't believe in competition, we believe in collaboration. And even with the other adult camps that are out there, we made friends with the directors and we talk and help each other out. We're actually going to have a retreat together and really like mastermind about what's working, what's not working. And we've supported each other in even marketing each other's camps. So
I love that.
Yeah, if you can create that, like you have the power to do that, instead of if you're in a field where there's like a lot of competition, you could be the stand for the collaboration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients that too, because there's a module in our work together which is know who else is in the marketplace, because you need to know who else is out there, right? So that you know how you're different, you can be inspired by the people who are doing things really well. You need to be aware. But I actually changed it from know your competition to know who's in the marketplace, because competition is such a negative
Yeah.
feeling in people. I don't believe it's negative.
Well, it's like scarcity versus abundance,
That's
right?
right,
So
yeah.
like it's like there's more than enough for everyone. There's more
That's
than
right.
enough clients for everyone. If you
Yeah.
come from that place, that also helps you when you go into a networking event. Instead of being like, okay, I need to get because all these other people are competing for this. It's like, oh, how can I give because there's more than enough for everyone,
Yeah.
and there is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's fantastic. I think that that brings us really nicely into what we started off saying about knowing yourself, knowing your goals, and how that can help you. You know, a lot of people go into freelancing and they struggle for a while at first because it is very hard to find your niche and to figure out who your right audience is and your clients, and you know there seem to be endless opportunities and no opportunities all at once.
Yeah.
So okay, beyond knowing your sort of dream goal 5 years down the road, what else do you have to really think about in terms of maybe not your skills but you in order to be a better networker? And you know, maybe that's your strengths. Maybe that's the things you love doing. I don't know. How does that all fit in?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the things that you love doing. So I think that passion and enthusiasm is really contagious. And if you can stand behind what you're doing with that passion, you can't do that if it's something that you don't love to do, right? Like if you're like a coder and you're doing work for a big tobacco company and you don't believe in it, you're not going to be enthusiastic in sharing that, right? Like you're like not excited to share it. But if you're doing something for you that you believe in and it's helping the world in some way, then you're really want to share that. And you have this passion that's really magnetic and people like can feel that in an instant. So I think that's one of the main things of finding what it is that you love and then being able to combine the skills. So for example, with design work for me, I mean, I don't necessarily love design, which is why I'm moving into Soul Camp, but I love health and wellness. I love the possibility of creating a better life. So I used my skills as a designer to help professionals that were already in that mission, right? And I was so excited to be able to help them because I knew I had the skill, I was good at it.
Right.
And to that point, and I love what you're saying there, I always say to people, like, your talent, you were put here to do something. You were put here with this very specific, unique skill and talent. You may not know what it is, but you have it. And that talent enables you to positively transform the lives of other people. The thing that you do, graphic design, coaching, events, it's just the vehicle.
Yeah.
And you know, I actually wrote a post about this after Prince died because I saw this amazing interview. I'm tearing up even thinking about it. But no, there was this amazing interview where they were talking about him. It was someone from his inner circle because you know he was so private.
Right.
And he said, you know, people say Prince was this genius musician, and he was, but he was really a humanitarian.
Yeah.
He was here to help as many people as he could. So he had all of these programs and initiatives that he funded, that he helped brainstorm and set up, and he would bring these people in that were passionate about it, and then he would fund them. So there's people with solar panels on their roofs because Prince paid for them. They don't know that. There's people, coders, these coding academies for girls, you know, that he totally backs it. So that was what he was put here to do, and that was what his passion was. Music was his vehicle. That's how he made money so that he could bankroll all these things. So, you know, the more successful you can make your business and the more people you can reach, you know, through your network and through collaborations and that, you know, ongoing effect, the more positive change you can make, you know. So that it really does, once you start thinking about a network in terms of that, like we're all connected and like how powerful we can be when we bring that all together, it kind of gives you goosebumps, you know. It's a far cry from these dry, you know, the dry networking that we've been talking about.
It feels very actionable because who knows you better than you?
Yeah.
And it's very inspiring. I mean, I just want to go home and write down all the things that I'm good at and also just have you by my side for the rest of my life.
Just put your pocket, carry us around with you.
But yeah, I mean, I think also one of the most difficult things about freelancing is you know, knowing when to take action on what, and you are your own business, you know, everything is up to you, and we can get very stuck, you know, especially as especially as creatives, in fear or, just focused on the skill set and how we're driving that forward. And it's always really refreshing and I think a really good reminder that, this at the end of the day is your soul and your heart and that's what you're putting into it to succeed. So you really have to take care of those things.
That's right. That's right. And to invite people in that support that and will take care of that too. We'll honor that. We've all had people that have come in and out of our lives. And even the negative experiences taught us something, right? That, one of the things that I learned earlier on in my entrepreneurial career was that integrity was really important to me. And, I use that as my benchmark in business. It's like, am I in integrity right now? If it doesn't feel right, it's not. And I will let a client go. I will say no. I will put them on someone else. I will, whatever it is, I'll if it feels right, doesn't. So you need to invite people into your circle who are like that too. Because if I'm recommending you to somebody, then it's on me, What if she messes up? What if she doesn't deliver? Whatever. So I have to feel so secure that all of the people share my value of integrity and they're going to do a great job. It's not that they have just an amazing aesthetic or whatever. It's that whole person.
Yes.
And because we are, people work with people.
Yeah.
Not titles.
Actually, I think that segues us very well into talking about how do you know your ideal client and why is that important to know? Because, right now, for instance, Freelancers Union is, we're working on an advocacy campaign. It's called Freelance Isn't Free. And we are working alongside City Council to create this incredible bill that will help protect freelancers against non-payment. But non-payment is a huge issue for freelancers. And I think a lot of it does have to do with, working with not ideal clients and not that you're not thinking about your integrity, but it's hard to get jobs,
Totally.
And so sometimes you need a job last minute. Sometimes contracts just aren't part of the industry, but we want to see freelancers succeed and we want to see them get paid. And I think that thinking really deeply about integrity and your ideal client is hugely connected to that.
And also knowing when you're stepping outside of that, right? So when I had the creative management agency, which I had before I segued fully into the coaching, we had a client and she was kind of a nightmare. I'd worked with her in the past. She was awful. But I talked about it with the creative who's working on it, and we said, should we risk it? So we were like, okay, we're going to put out a nice big juicy bid. If she goes with it, then we'll just deal. And it was such a nightmare. It totally, just dragged on. It was awful. All kinds of stuff happened. And I remember thinking afterwards, I should have listened to my gut. My gut said to me, don't touch it with a barge pole. And we did. We took it for the money, because it was good money. But boy, did we pay for that again and again and again and again and again.
Right.
So it's, your own, or I think you do after a certain time, but that's big when you know who your ideal client is. So when you know who your ideal client is, you know when someone isn't an ideal client, and you can make that choice. You can say, like you say, if things are a little lean that month, you got your bills to pay, you take the risk,
right?
And there is a risk working with people, but there's a risk if you work full time too. You could get laid off and not see that coming. So there's always going to be risk. So you have to just be kind of okay with it and do your best. It's gauge the clients as best you can going in.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's taking responsibility, right? So sometimes I've done that, and I've worked with clients that I knew from the get-go were going to be a nightmare, and they were. And there was one website project that took 2.5 years. It was crazy. But I said, I remember deciding, I was like, okay, money's a little low right now. I need to take this project, and I'm in this. I was and it made, even though it was hard, it made the nightmare a little more easy because I said I chose this. And I'm not going to do this again because I'm going to find another way, right?
That's right. And also, I think once you have been doing that for a while, I've been on my own for about 10 years now. So, that you have that faith, that in a way, because there's a lot of faith involved in being an entrepreneur, that, I can say no to this, knowing that something else better or equal to it will come in its place. And in taking something that's not right, I'm closing a door to something that is. It's like dating like a horrible guy, because you don't want to be alone. And like, really, if you just let this guy go, then the love of your life could walk in the door. But, you've got to create that space. And just having that faith of just like, I've always been okay. I'm good at what I do. I show up every day. I give it 110%. I'm doing my bit. As long as you're doing your bit. And that goes back to the action that we were talking about. When people get paralyzed, just take one action. I always say to people, do one thing a day that's going to move your business forward. One. And it can be a tiny thing like, reach out to Sharon. I gave her my thing. I never heard back from her. Instead of saying, I never heard back from her. Why not? Say, I'm sure she's really busy. She probably is just buried. I don't answer some of my emails, and I have every intention of doing it. So let me reach out again. That's your one thing done.
Totally.
Yeah. So for those people who are starting off, or you know what, let's just open the playing field to everyone. What do you look for? How do you decide who your ideal client is? How do you know what to put in that box?
I think a lot of this is learning as you go. So you get to know the ones you look at the clients that are amazing and you love working with them, and you start to look at their qualities. They trust you. They pay you on time. They give you compliments with your work. They're also really honest with their feedback, and they are on time with the feedback. And you begin to see the things that are working for you. And then opposite, you look at the ones that aren't, and what are the qualities that are there. They don't trust you. They don't pay on time. They're complaining at every step of the way, right? And then you can begin to narrow down and see. But if you haven't worked on any projects yet, you can start guessing and thinking about relationships. So who are the people that I love hanging out with, and what are the qualities there? And I think, again, it does come back to intuition, because when you're talking to a client, you can tell if there's like confusion or mistrust or lack of connection there in the conversation, the first few conversations. But sometimes it does take a little bit of time to begin to spot that and trust what you're spotting.
Yeah.
And also just how does that fit into building up a better network? What does knowing your ideal client have to do with these collaborators, supporters, and advisors? How does knowing that help you build a more solid foundation for what you're moving forwards to, for what you're moving forwards to achieve? I mean, how can you express that to people? How can that help you get jobs?
I think that helps you decide where to spend your time, right? So for thinking about Soul Camp as an example, a lot of people come because they are in the health and wellness field, and they want to begin to collaborate with people who have a shared interest of nature and coming together and being by a bonfire and all of that. So they come there not necessarily, okay, I want to meet someone for this thing in my business, but I want to build my tribe. I want to build my network, and I want to meet people in there. And they know my time and money is worth going to this place because of that, right? So I think it helps you decide where to go, like which events to go to, or where to spend your time online.
Right. What has more value?
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about networking, we can be talking about networking online. We can be talking about networking in person. Do you find that there's a really big difference between how you approach networking either way?
My feeling is to be as, and again, this is such a kind of overused word, but I still like it, authentic, to be your authentic self. So when you're posting things on, Facebook, is it something that, I always ask myself, is it either educational, entertaining, or interesting to my ideal clients? If it's not, I'm not going to post it. So, for example, I was just telling you before that I was launching an online program, and I was doing some Facebook, the live videos, what is it called, Facebook Live?
Facebook Live, yeah.
And I did one with my baby. He's 5 months old, because I was talking about just doing a little riff about, like, why do you want to be in business for yourself? Why do you want to build a freelance career? For me, it's freedom. It's freedom so that I can have a kid and spend time with him and be around my family. For other people, it might be to travel more. But so I brought him in on it, not to sort of, totally milk the cute baby, but he did help engage me. I've got to say, he was like smiling the whole way through. He was like a champ. But, when it's relevant, just bring your whole self to it. So if you're really into, cooking or something, you know, and you want to share recipes or a little video of something you made, or you know, whatever it is, bring your whole self to it, and the things that you're interested in that you know are shared interests. So there'll be some things that tickle me, and I think, oh, that's really great, and I'll ask myself, is it interesting, educational, or entertaining to my ideal clients?
Mm-hmm.
If it's only entertaining to me or interesting to me, I don't post it. You know, so you're editing, but still being very transparent. And so to me, I think there's no difference in online or in person when you approach it that way. Just bring yourself to it, but in a way where it's really about the person you're talking to, more than it is about you and what you want to be sharing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice.
I think when you drill it down, what you're saying too is just it's the giving, right? So in person, it might look different because you're connecting with one person, right? And then online on Facebook, the way I use it, I don't necessarily surf and like try to connect with individual people. I'm just sharing what's up for me, how I want to inspire, motivate, and then I allow people to witness and come to me. So it's in a way more passive, I guess, because it's not like I would stand in a room and put in, like, say an inspiring quote, right?
I'd like to see that.
We'll try it later. But, you know, on social media, that's something that I do, and then my ideal clients are more attracted to that content. So that might be one difference. Yeah.
And also knowing you're not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, that's important.
That's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, you know. I had one guy that kept emailing me. He had participated in free webinars. He was participating in my newsletter, all of these things. And he was this old guy. And he basically kept emailing me to tell me that he agreed with some things, but he really disagreed with me on many things. And he wanted to have a fight with me, basically, about the things that he didn't agree with. And I was just like, you know what? You're not an ideal client of mine. Unsubscribe. You know, I unsubscribed him because he said, I might unsubscribe. I don't know. And I'm like, let me do it for you. You know, because in the end, it's like, I don't need people in there that don't resonate with me. And I'm not going to be for everyone. And that's cool, you know. But then I'm also not going to waste my time trying to, you know, placate him or give him what he needs, because it's impossible. So, you know, let someone else. They are someone else's perfect client.
Yeah. No, I love the idea of, you know, when someone makes one small move towards you, you embrace them, right? And say, yes, welcome, and let's
But here are the house
do
rules.
this. Right. Well, here are the house rules.
Totally.
Right. But
Mama bear.
yeah, no, I think that's great. You know, putting out one post and responding to the people who respond to you makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
So do you, I mean, in your work with clients, do you offer strategies for how they can start getting out there that are maybe more tangible, like try going to X, or try starting to do this online?
Yeah.
Maybe that's email list, or even if you don't, you know, private Facebook group, specific kind of happy hour. I don't know, you know, what can people out there do?
What I recommend is that people really create their ideal client profile or their avatar. So this person is a real person. So they're not just a job, they're not just a title, an industry, although those things are important. But, you know, where do they live? Are they married? How old are they? What's their aesthetic? What's their vibe? Where would they eat? You know, so you really get a sense of who that person is. And then, you know, think about, where are those people congregating? So, you know, are they hanging out at Soho House? Are they going to the How Design Conference? Do they go to the 99U conference? You know, and you know, figure out where they're going. Do they belong to the AIGA or the Art Directors Club? Go to places where there's places that have already congregated these people for you.
Right.
You don't have to go and figure it all out yourself. So when you know what their interests are, and one of the things that I always encourage my clients to interview their ideal clients, you know, because it gives them such great feedback. But I always say to them, ask them, what newsletters do you always open? What blogs do you read? Because we all get a million newsletters. We probably read about two. You know, there's someone, Jennifer Rakio.
She's one of my best friends.
I know, right? Well, I've just found her and it's astrology. And astrology is not really my thing, but I love her newsletters, and I share them. And then I realized that she was going to be at Soul Camp, and again, this network thing, right? But I think I met her at a networking event. But, you know, so you start to find out where those people are congregating, and then you can just show up and be yourself.
That's so fantastic. Yeah, I think I mean, if it was me and I was going to a networking event, I'd probably say to myself, where do I want to go? And reframing that thought process, always thinking about, who am I speaking to? What are they thinking? What do they need from me?
Yes.
That makes so much more sense.
I actually say to all of my clients, if you flipped everything you ever thought, wrote, or said 180, so that it was not about you and it was about your client, you're done.
Yeah.
Your business is brilliant. You're marketing yourself perfectly. You're talking to them perfectly. Everything. Just switch everything you ever think 180, and you're golden.
That's so fun. Yeah, no, that's great.
That's so good.
We're sort of hardwired backwards.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, and I just add to that, I think, using the network that you already have, even if you think it's really small. So, posting on Facebook, I really want to connect with developers, I really want to connect with someone that's interested in this, and posting that, and someone that's already within your network might have the answer that you don't know.
Yes.
I always love using that. And there might be a Facebook group that someone's in that has collaboration between developers, and it's super helpful for them, so they might tell you about it that you wouldn't have known earlier. So just trying to use, what do they call it, low-hanging fruit?
Yeah.
The low-hanging fruit that's right around you.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. When I was job searching a while back, I would go to friends and I would say, this is what I'm interested in. And they'd say, oh, I don't know anyone who's doing that. Sorry. I'd say, no, hold on, please. You don't know anyone, but your friends might know someone.
Good for you.
That's
And
awesome.
so I would force them to send that email to their friends, and the next thing you knew,
Action.
That's
action.
wonderful.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just that one thing was life changing for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's one of the things that they talk about in BNI. I was in BNI for a year, and BNI is Business Networking International, I think.
Yeah.
I just think it was breakfast networking international because they meet at
Is that
7
really?
a.m. So that's one of their things is that not only are you getting to know the people in your chapter, because you have to belong, you have to show up, they're very strict about it, so you get to know them, but then it's all of the people in their network, all the people in their network, and so that's the philosophy behind that. So I think that it's very powerful but most people, like you say, they're not prepared to think beyond that, and it was really kind of insightful of you to actually push people to think beyond that, and look at the results you got. Just
amazing.
Like one more level of a degree of separation.
Right. No, it was fantastic, and I didn't have to do the work. Thanks, friends.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was how I gauged success. And we're going to wrap this conversation up, and then we're going to go to live audience Q&A in 30 seconds. So, to wrap this up, how do you gauge success? Is that even possible? What does that look like?
I think it's really checking in with yourself, knowing, if you're hiding, if you're just playing safe, or if you're taking high leverage action, and doing something that's different and outside of your comfort zone from what you're normally doing. I think that's just, checking in with yourself and asking yourself, am I playing it safe, or am I taking a risk? Am I taking a stand for myself, just like you had done with this, finding that job? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's a never-ending process, and it goes in waves for sure, and you do just have to be very self-aware. You have to check in.
Every moment. It never ends, really.
Oh, great.
But it's a great thing. If you can rely on
exciting.
yourself and not on other people, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into our live audience Q&A. Thank you again to everyone for joining us, and you can follow this conversation at #GALive. This one comes from Alex K, and he or she, sorry, I don't know, wants to know, how do you narrow yourself or your pitch when you have broad offerings like writing, for example?
Yeah. And that's a really key thing, because it's really tough because we can do so many things, it doesn't mean we should do so many things. So for example, when I went into coaching, people said, well, why not be a coach for entrepreneurs instead of creative professionals? And I thought about it, but then when I looked at, my competitors, who else was in the marketplace, I realized there was very few people who specialized in creative professionals, and the people that did do that wouldn't do it the way I would do it, and those people were my passion. They were the people I knew. That was where my expertise was. So you know what really floats your boat, you know what you're really good at, and you know the kinds of clients that you love to work on. So I always say, do niche. And then you can always, just because you say you work with a specialty and that's your positioning, doesn't mean that other people won't come to you. Other people will still resonate with your process, with your work. I mean, I have an IT professional that I work with. I don't mention IT professionals anywhere in my communications, but he liked me. So, I think that you're not going to sort of shut the door on other things, but really just to focus on where the things are that you love to do, but also where is the need? Where are you able to serve people, and that's the key. So you can't divine your way there. It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah. And I just want to add one thing to that. I think it's just finding what is really unique about you, and not necessarily, like, it can be the niche, right? Oh, I love working with this type of person, but it can also be, my process is different. And this is the way that I love to write and work with clients and help this way, right? So that's something else that differentiates you, and it makes a separate niche in and of itself.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So this, let's see. I wish I could see. In regards to not being pushy, what do you recommend for a woman, especially given the way a direct woman is perceived versus a direct man? That is a very interesting question.
It is.
Not being pushy. And I assume that means for any interactions, because we're just talking about the general network.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's coming at my work as a place of service. So it's not about me, it's about my clients and what they can do. Again, it's that 180 flip, right? Not like what how can I talk about myself, but how can I talk about you and what you need? And when you approach things in that way, it's very hard to come across as pushy or overbearing, because the energies are just conflicting, you know? You can't be that way. So I think that when you think in that way, you're not going to be perceived that way. And again, being authentic, just being real, being in a conversation. Do your friends think you're pushy and overly direct? Probably not. They probably think you're awesome because you are. So it's be the way you are in networking events as you are with your friends, with your family. See it as a conversation rather than I'm trying to tell you something, and then it can't possibly be pushy.
Right. And it's like a way of being, right? So for me, when I think of someone who might think that they're pushy, it could be that they're afraid of being powerful. So really, like, thinking about the way of being, like showing up in a conversation as powerful and giving, right?
Yes,
like you can stand in your power and say, this is what I have to offer, and not be pushy about it. Not trying to convince someone. It's just saying, yes, this is who I am. This is what I'm great at.
And also that feeling like I'm okay with not being for everybody, and then that takes a lot of pressure off you to try and you're only pushy if you're trying to make something happen that really shouldn't be happening, right? So
and some people might think you're pushy, right? Like you can't. Sometimes we can't control, and that's also okay.
And it's what they're saying. What other people think of me is none of my business. I love that. It just it lets you off a lot of hooks,
Totally.
It's, or a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah. You have to do that for yourself too.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about LinkedIn for networking? Is it worth upgrading to LinkedIn Premium?
You know what? I don't think so. I've tried LinkedIn Premium a few times. Sorry. It just never really brought me that much benefit, but I do use LinkedIn, and a lot of people find me on LinkedIn. So I find it really great, but for me, the free version is perfectly fine. But again, it's that checking in with yourself. We were talking about what's successful and what's not. Try it. It's not like they're going to lock you in for a year. Try it for a few months. Yeah. It's $10 a month. It's not going to break the bank. And see, is it making a difference? Are you utilizing it? Is it something that's naturally aligned with your efforts? And I like to post there. So it's something that I kind of enjoy being there a little bit more now than I used to. But I didn't find that it was necessary to be a premium member. But, in certain industries, if you're in human resources, well, then it's going to make a lot of sense for you to have the premium. So try it, see.
Yeah, that makes sense to me across the board. If you're not sure whether something is for you, try it, but make sure that you put the effort into trying it as fully as possible.
Give it a few months, it's and see.
So this comes from Neil. Any tips on how to reconnect or check in with past clients without being intrusive?
I have a thought about that. I think that's where content comes in. I have a newsletter, and it's not just about what I'm doing at all. It's all about tips, strategies. Here's how to build your creative business. And it's just giving away my information, my expertise. And that's how you stay in contact with people. By sharing things with them that they are interested in, that will help them build their business. An article, a lot of times I'll send a clipping of. I was in a doctor's office one day, and there was a photo with a thing on it that I sent to one of my clients because I knew that was something that we'd been talking about really recently, and she was like, "I love this. This is great," So always be thinking, what can I share that is interesting? And that keeps you front of mind, right? And then, of course, you can definitely do the direct check-in as well. I'm a big fan of those, because people are busy and we think that everyone just wakes up wondering what we're doing, and they're not. They forget. So I check in every few months. Hey, just wanted to share a new project I worked on, or this live stream I was a part of, or whatever it is. Thought you might be interested. Anything going on? Anything you need help with? Just be genuine. Check in. It's good. So indirect and direct, I think, is a good mix. And you don't feel like you're always like knocking on the door. Hey,
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I find it so helpful when I share something direct from a conversation that I picked up on. So let's say someone's a fan of the Yankees and you see something that's really exciting about that's going on in baseball. You can share something I thought of you. I just wanted to share this with you. And then they feel like they just get such a positive response. They remembered me. Oh, this person's of quality and they're genuine. So that's like a really powerful way.
And there's little things you can do as well. When I was an agent, I had a lot of clients and talent. I would, if we would say one of my clients had a baby, I would like say, oh, what's the baby's name? And I would write it in my notes, in their contact information. So when I would email them back 3 months later, I'd say, how's Felicity doing? Or, I'd send a card when they had the baby or something. And people just really appreciate it. And it's not, it's not being manipulative. It's being kind and thoughtful, right? And it's just, but it's a way where they just think, oh, and it helps you stand out, So again, it's being thoughtful to the other person, what would be meaningful to them in their day when they've got people just asking them for stuff all the time, how could you give something, in that too?
Yeah, fantastic. This is from KP. For first-time freelancers, where should one start to build their tribe? What is a good introductory approach? Funny enough, I feel like that goes back to what I did with my friends.
Yeah, I think that's great. Another thing I think is joining somewhere like Freelancers Union. You guys have great events. They've got Spark events. They've got all these things going on. There's the hives. There's all these places where you can interact with your fellow creatives, and it's broad. So you can also get resources and stuff there. So I would say find maybe an association that caters to your kind of people, and participate. Show up.
Coming from Renee, as an introvert, how do you know what's considered helping? How do you bridge that gap?
I can speak to this.
I knew you would be able to.
Because I am actually, surprised. You might be surprised by this, but I consider myself an introvert. I forget what the exact question is, but I feel called to share. Just you can stand in that introvertedness, like you can know that about yourself and show up in the way that feels right to you. So, as an introvert, you might not be the person that's meeting every single person in the room. You don't necessarily want to be the center of attention, but you can show up and say, okay, like to any event, and you're going to have to push yourself a little bit if you're wanting to create results. But you can connect with one or two people. You can say, I want to make a genuine connection with at least one person. And that's the goal. Of any place you go, right? So I'm not sure if I was answering the direct question, but I think just knowing that, this goes back to knowing yourself, right? So I'm an introvert, but you're not just an introvert, right? There's things that you are able to provide and share, and things that will light you up that will allow you to really express yourself, and I think that's important for you to find those things too.
And there's also, no matter who you are or what you're into, there's a million other people just like you. So, if you're like this introverted stamp collector, you can guarantee there's like a club for them in New York.
Yes.
And you're going to be with your people. Like, those are your tribe. So, it's not like you're an introvert in this sea of extroverted people.
Right.
And with that, if there is no meetup around collecting stamps, you can create that and know that there's other introverts that are out there that are wanting to connect over that, right? That's really important for you to know. And even though you consider yourself an introvert, it doesn't mean that you can't be a leader. You
That's
can be an
right.
introverted leader and use the skills and strengths that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Steve Jobs. I'm sure he was an introvert, but look at what he did.
Yeah, yeah.
So our last question from our online audience, this is from Lois. What is the best strategy to following up after networking?
I'm kind of bad at this. I try, but my goal is always to do it within a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't try and follow up with everybody. You know, I pretty much, a lot of times I'll take cards and I'll write a note to myself as I'm leaving. Oh, this person did this, or it's something I remember about them. And I only really follow up with people where I really think there's a genuine connection.
Yeah.
I don't keep my business cards because I realized I had a drawer full of them, and I'm like, I don't know who's people. I throw them away.
Yeah.
So I'm forced to take action. I'm like, I'm throwing these away in 4 days. So I either reach out to that person and make a connection, or it's lost. So I would say, to follow up within a few days, to mention something in that conversation. So write it down on the card because you think you'll remember and you won't, and just see is that it's like just that tentative sort of reaching out. See what you get back.
Yeah, I think just adding to that, just finding the people that you really do connect with, and then thinking also about where you're hanging out a lot. So for me, it's Facebook, and I usually, if I met someone that I really connected with, I'll friend them on Facebook and connect with them further on that platform. So whatever that is for you, it could also just be you're on email a lot and you like connecting with people that way, you can do that. But I think that's like a really good way to go about it.
Yeah, make it easy on yourself.
Exactly. Totally.
So any last thoughts, great takeaway suggestions, anything you want to offer to our audience before we wrap up?
I think my thing is just be genuine, go easy on yourself. Rome was not built in a day. You don't have to get from A to Z in one go. Just try to get from A to B. And to know that this is an evolution. This is a journey that you're on, and people will come and go, and some people will stay for the long haul. And just kind of go with it a little bit more. Don't make a big hairy deal about it. Enjoy it. It should be fun.
That's what I was going to say. Have fun with it. Like, this can be a fun thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so serious. It can be fun.
Yeah. So let's let our audience know where they can find you after this event is over.
Okay, pitchperfectpresentation.com is my website. My name is Justine Clay. So that's the best place. And I offer a free introductory call if you want to talk about challenges. So go to my website. You can book it there, pitchperfectpresentation.com.
Awesome. And you can find me at AllisonLeipzig.com if you guys want to work on your confidence and really standing in what you're great at. You can find me there. And then if you're interested in Soul Camp, it's soul.camp, and we're on social media on all the platforms there.
And I'm Sharon. Again, I'm with Freelancers Union. Thank you all for joining us today. And this will be on GA's YouTube page very soon. They'll be sending out an email with a recording. So don't worry, you're going to have this advice forever. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.